There you are. All right. Jamie, where are you? There. Let's see. I think that should be okay. Yeah, that should be okay. Struggling with this. Good morning, everyone. Just getting used to this thing now. Just maybe this way. The other way, like this. Okay. Thanks, Paul. Behind. Okay. There. How's that? Better? All right. All right. And good morning to our dear friends on Zoom. Welcome. Can you hear me okay? Great. Thank you. And let's see, there are more people in the waiting room. Jamie, can I ask you to monitor letting everyone in from the waiting room? I turned off the waiting room, but it looks like it's
It's
still
very quiet.
letting people
Can you
back.
increase the sound?
Okay. All right, let me turn up my volume a little bit. Okay. Checking. 1, 2, 3. Checking. Okay. Good morning, everyone. So good to see all your faces here today. And a part of me is a little sad to see that we have to go back to cover our beautiful smiles. And inside of that, we are being cautious and protecting one another. And so we be with this, and with, it brings tears to my eyes to think of how many people right now are sick and whose lives have been touched with COVID. More volume, okay. Is there a way I can turn it up on the Zoom? Okay. All right. Let's see. Audio setting. Mic volume. Okay, how is that now? There we go. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Sherry, can you hear me? No, she shook her head. Okay. Sherry shaking her head. How about this? See, I click on this and it
try that.
it doesn't
Output,
stay.
output.
Okay. Testing. Testing. How's now?
Okay.
I could plug my other microphone in, that one there, if that helps. It's slightly louder.
There's no port available for it. There might be one more USB port. Try that.
Actually, I need a USB to connect it.
testing
Oh,
here?
let's see.
Test on Zoom.
Testing, testing. Sherry, can you hear me? How's my volume, Sherry? No? Okay. Try this one.
We'll try this speaker as well. Try that guy.
Testing, testing. Can you hear me, Sherry? Is my volume? How about this? This one is not detecting it on Zoom.
AKT.
Okay, there we go. You are good. Okay, let's try that. Testing. Can you hear me now? Sherry. Sherry says
I'll
no.
tinker with it on
Okay.
So
Okay.
keep an eye on here. Keep an eye on the output. Try using a separate,
Use separate audio device.
because that's this separate audio device.
What about this microphone? Testing. Testing.
That should do it.
It's I need to make some adjustment with my voice too. Maybe I need to project a little bit more. Just a little bit. I'm getting the hint. All right. Okay, Sherry, you could hear it? You could hear me? How's that? Is that better? Testing, 1, 2, 3. Better. All right. Thank you for the feedback, Jonas. All right. Okay. I'll have to use my outdoor voice. It's a little bit echoey. And this is my outdoor voice. All right. Great. So today I will practice mindful speaking, particularly mindful of my voice projecting. So I have to consider that, inside of me being at ease, also considering everyone's needs and the ability to include you all, include everyone on Zoom. I will do my best, and please, if you're having a hard time hearing me, and please send me a reminder, and I will come back to speaking louder. So thank you. And so first off, I just wanted to just introduce myself. My name is Trina. I am filling in for Robert today. Robert is still on his Hollyhock retreat. He just actually completed on Friday, and he's traveling and on his way back. So I'm very honored to be here, to be called, to be in this position, sharing the Dharma with you, as it is the biggest joy for me to be able to share this. And I'm very touched just to have encountered the Dharma. I grew up in a Buddhist family. I was born in Vietnam, and growing up, my family practiced.
Recording in progress.
Thank you, Jamie. And growing up, we practice Mahayana Buddhism. So there's a lot of chantings, a lot of prostrations, and lots of rituals involved. And there are times when rituals are very much what we need to bring the body back into a sacred, calm state. And then there are times when we need to go beyond the rites and the rituals. And so after 8 years of studying Chan, Zen Buddhism, Chinese Zen Buddhism, I found my way to Insight Meditation. I was a member of the Chicago Insight Meditation community for over 8 years. And on this journey with Insight Meditation, I discovered the teachings of the Buddha on an experiential level. And so everything that I will be sharing with you today is my journey and my own discovery of the Dharma. And what the Buddha teaches us is not something conceptual or theoretical, but is through his own discovery and his own finding that he created these numerous lists and these steps to liberating ourselves. And so if we practice and apply this wholeheartedly to our own life, we too can experience that liberation, that peace, that happiness. And so, one more thing. I'm currently a teacher in training here at PIMC, and my partner Joshua is here, and we actually met for the first time when I came to Portland and when I met Robert for the first time here. So it was a very memorable and life-changing day. And thank you for sharing this journey with me. And thank you, Jamie, for everything you've done to help us set up and being in the background of all of this. Yes. Thank you. And thank you, Jim, for your guide and your just companionship and partnership on this journey. Thank you. And one more thanks is to Maggie. Thank you, Maggie, for being our welcoming greeter, and with your warm heart and your kindness and your generosity of time. Thank you for opening the doors of transformation to all of us every Sunday. Yeah, and thank you to all those of you who've I've come in contact with and have shared this practice with, the space that Portland Insight Meditation Center has created for us to come together and to delight in the Sangha. And so let us begin by taking the 3 refuges. And while I will not be playing a guitar, we will be singing it. So on your handout that you receive, we'll be chanting the 3 refuges, and then following that, I will be doing a very short chant. And this is actually the full version of the 3 refuges that was created by one of my root teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh. Louder. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dhammaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Dhammaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community that lives in harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. Dwelling in the refuge of Buddha, I clearly see the path of light and beauty in the world. Dwelling in the refuge of Dharma, I learn to open many doors on the path of transformation. Dwelling in the refuge of Sangha, shining light that supports me, keeping my practice free of obstruction. Taking refuge in the Buddha in myself, I aspire to help all people recognize their own awakened nature, realizing the mind of love. Taking refuge in the Dharma in myself, I aspire to help all people fully master the ways of practice and walk together on the path of liberation. Taking refuge in the Sangha in myself, I aspire to help all people build fourfold communities, to embrace all beings and support their transformation. Let us all find a comfortable, upright posture. Sitting in such a way that the back is straight and upright. The body is relaxed. And please begin by taking a few intentional breaths. As you breathe in, feel the energy wind coursing through your body. And as you breathe out, notice the breath emptying from the chest to the belly. And please become mindful of the body sitting here. Notice where your sits bone make contact with the cushion or the chair, feeling the pressure. This is the earth element. And feeling the weight of the body. And notice the element of heat in the legs, in the hands. In the body, in the face. Just like a pile of bones, neatly stacked, one on top of the other. Can we let go of any sense of holding onto the posture, and simply allowing the body to rest in stillness. And only when the body is still can we begin to observe the movement of the mind. So we can check in with ourselves. What is happening right here and right now in the body, in the mind? And upon noticing, let go of any judgment, any discrimination, and take refuge in the present moment. Take refuge in the breath, the breathing in and the breathing out is your call back home. And in this particular tradition, we practice to experience the Dharma within the framework of our body. Whatever discomfort, whatever pleasant or unpleasant, whatever experience we are having is no accident. And we remain still, like a still forest pool, to reflect the reality, the true nature of things. Behind the stories, behind the extra that we add on to the pain, the joy, the goodness and the sadness of this human life. And we come back to seeing all this is, in fact, a part of the human experience. Instead of interrupting or resisting or clinging onto an illusion, we loosen our grip and we soften our view. Alert, relax, and awake to the experience of this moment, exactly as it is. Just like the clouds in the sky, these emotions, these thoughts, these perceptions, and this consciousness is an ever-changing phenomena. We can witness this impermanence again and again, moment by moment. And when we remember in the moment of mindfulness, we remember it's not personal. Whatever comes up to the surface is not what we choose, but it is what is. And we can bring forth qualities of loving kindness, qualities of tranquility and equanimity, to be with all that is there, the good, the bad, the ugly, with an open heart of understanding and acceptance that this too shall pass. And this moment is like this. Please become aware. What is pulling you away from this moment? What is the tendency of the mind? Get to know it deeply and with curiosity. When the mind is not awake, alert, and relaxed, what is happening? What is present or not present? when the mind is focused. And in those moments you're present. What energy, what quality is also present? Like an instrument, we tune it to produce a beautiful sound. We can do this with our concentration. If it's too tight, we can become agitated and restless. If it's too loose, we're drifty and there's a sleepy dullness. So we work to tune our concentration to be not too tight and not too loose. In these last remaining minutes, I'd like to invite you to practice metta, loving kindness. Please bring your awareness to your heart center. Notice the breathing in and the breathing out in the chest. Feeling the chest rising and falling. And we first begin by sending wishes of loving kindness to ourselves with a smile on our lips and with a heart full of joy. We can repeat these mantras silently to ourselves. May I be happy. May I be at peace. May I be at ease. May I be free from suffering. May I forgive myself, accept myself, and love myself exactly the way I am in this moment. Letting out a sigh. And now, sending that loving kindness outwards to our loved ones, our family, our friends, our community, our co-workers and colleagues, our city, our state, and our nations. May all living beings be happy. May all living beings be safe and protected. May all living beings be at ease and at peace. May all living beings be free from anger, greed, and delusion. May all living beings learn to love one another like a mother who loves her only child. Hearing, hearing the sound of the bell, we awaken to our true nature. We awaken to the call within our heart to connect to one another, to connect to that silence and that stillness within ourselves and within one another. And although the sound marks the end of our sitting period, we can continue to carry this practice of mindfulness with us throughout every moment as we stand up, as we transition to gyms, and as we listen, as we see, as we interact with one another. Mindfulness doesn't stop when we leave here or when we get up from our cushion, but when we make this practice a part of our life, that it is in fact the way we live, we experience a deep transformation, a change in our life, the kind of change that brings about an unshakable peace and a stillness that even in the midst of our busy lives, it's always there with us, like the mountain, solid and firm and unshakable. And so I would like to pass it on to Jim, as Jim will do the Qigong. Is there any announcement, Jim, you would like to also share? Yeah, there is the mic. Oh, the mic is over at the... Oh, you could take this one. Yeah. Jamie has some alcohol wipes over there if you need it.
That's fine. Okay. You want to join me for some how things coming through on Zoom? Are there thumbs up or okay signs or? All right. Hmm?
This little box.
Where'd I put it? Okay, thank you. So we're aware as we stand of our feet and our elongation. All the earth substance is organized into a standing skeleton. We get the skeleton balanced as best we can, and then the muscles in the body can relax a little bit. They don't have to be working full tilt. We balance the skeleton with soft knees and shoulders back and chin level, and when things line up with the earth element, then the muscles don't have to work so hard. We don't create as much heat. And there's a fluid flowing possibility in the skeleton because it's all connected through these joints filled with fluid that allows for adaptation. We have this impulse to lift and rise, and all the joints along the way cooperate in a flow. It starts with the shoulders and the elbows, but it goes through the wrist and all the little digits in the hand. We have an open hand, so we can feel the wind between the fingers as we move through space. There's this subtle sensation of wind and movement. All right. That wakes up the feeling, sensation part of the complex here, this mind-body situation. I've been doing a lot of things, working with investigation and curiosity with my heritage and my family karma, we'll call it. So I do it with Qigong sometimes, just scanning through my life, through the many, in my case, 7 decades of experiences conditioned by my relationships with my family. So I'm looking over all these experiences and I'm moving my chin back and forth with the idea of seeing which way, when I look, do I feel tension or stress or holding or clinging, or can I see the general flow of things with freedom and release? Are there things I have to forgive in myself, forgive in other people? Then I move my hands back behind my small of the back, underneath the rib cage and the kidneys, and continue to turn with the idea of opening to the future, opening to future possibilities across the horizon, places where I can set my intention to be more loving, more compassionate, self-forgiving, forgiving of others, open to the future, and then remembering to come back and get settled into the present, sinking again into the knees, allowing the arms to just hold the space of this present moment with all of its possibilities. But it comes from stillness. The possibilities arise out of the stillness in the center. So that's some of the happy investigation I've been doing. There's also other stuff. So I open my stance and I put my hands on my knees with the thumbs on the outside and the fingertips on the inside of the kneecap, and then I shift the weight and look farther back into history, my genealogy, the influences that have been building over generations that have conditioned me in subtle and not so subtle ways, in harmful and not so harmful ways, and joyous, happy times. And I physically look back over the shoulder to remind myself I didn't get here by myself. A whole line of living beings cooperated to create the conditions for me landing in the center of the continent in Chicago 70-some years ago. But there was so much before that had contributed. Now I'm going to come to the center and kind of wring out all the resentments, all the disappointments, all the things that I still cling to that prevent my freedom, prevent my happiness, and the happiness of my current family and generations building to the future. Kids and grandkids, and now a great-grandkid coming in August. So if I have to wring it out, come back to standing, gather all this recollection and determination and aspiration, allowing the energy to flow freely. And because my heritage goes back to Irish ancestors, some of whom were called down shouters. That's how they won their arguments. The guy with the biggest voice won. I don't have any problem projecting. Thank you very much. Oh, announcements, I forgot. Tonight is Be Queer Now at 6:30. Is the first Sunday? Yeah, and Candle is on at 6:30 on the first Sunday of the month. And then that's tonight. Right. The third Sunday, we won't worry about. Today is today. And then I'll be on tomorrow night from my home, projecting through Zoom, and Doug Pullen, as far as I know, will be on Zoom only on Thursday until we see what this COVID situation. They're saying we may be hitting a peak, and that means that there's a downhill. That'd be great. And there, on the 15th of the month, there's a special gathering on Zoom, and that's in the middle of the week, the 15th of June, and there's two teachers from Common Ground, Mark Nunberg and Shelley Graff, and they will have some things to say about belonging and othering. Is that enough, or do you want to do something more?
Okay, I was just going to say a little bit more. It's about
I'm done. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Paul from the DEI committee. Hi, everyone. Jim was talking about the visit we're going to have. We were hoping to have this done in person, but COVID. So June 15th, from 7 to 9 p.m. There's going to be a lot that evening, and we're really encouraging everyone to participate. This has to do with our ongoing efforts for diversity, equity, and inclusion here at the Sangha. For those of us who've been on this ride with us for quite some time, you'll know the ebbs and flows that we've had with this effort. And we're really excited and really happy to have them. The Common Ground is a Sangha in Minneapolis, and they've been doing this a little bit longer than we have. So we look to them for a lot of inspiration and information about where do we go, what do we do, helping us work through a new mission statement, a new set of intentions, and so this is just part of the ongoing process. So.
Hello, everybody. I'm Maggie, and I thank you. I thank you. Hi, Zoomers. So just really quickly, there were a number of new people here today when you all were coming through the door, and because of COVID, right now we've suspended our hospitality. Normally, after Sangha, we go to the living room and outside. We have coffee, tea, and snacks, and are able to really chat with each other and get to know each other. But for now, that's on hold, and Jim is on the board of directors, and until the board makes that decision, we won't be able to offer that in the moment. So pleased to hear that. Do keep us apprised. But for those of you who are new, I just want to make sure you know about our website, the Portland Insight Meditation Community, PIMC, because there's all kinds of opportunities to engage with the Sangha that you'll find on that website. So thank you very much, and thank you, Trina. I'm so enjoying hearing you loudly.
Okay, testing, testing, great. And audio settings. That's this one right here. If it sticks, oh yeah, gotta change the mic. There's that, thank you. So many buttons. Now I actually get to really understand the pain of what Robert goes through. And he does it so graciously, you know. Oh. And this is the new world that we live in, coming out on the other side of the pandemic, is that we have this in-person experience and also a virtual experience, where our Sangha now is not just on a local level, but we're also we have people coming from Canada, like Sherry, and we have Sharon from Arizona, and many more. I know Jai is in, where's Jai? California, somewhere in California, yeah. Carmel, that's right, Carmel. So, and then for some of those who are coming from their home or while in the midst of the Sunday busyness. So it's really wonderful that now with Zoom we can make the Dharma more accessible, and our community can still stay connected even while we're traveling or maybe at home sick with COVID. So there is some good that did come out of this. So today I'd like to talk about a quality of mind that is the cause of a lot of the problems we are facing in today's world. Okay. Got my sound check crew over here. Okay. How's that? Better? Testing. Yes. All right. Okay. And I wrote a few things about it on here, so I might be looking to make sure that I cover everything I really want to share with you and not get distracted by your presence. So this is one of what the Buddha identified as one of the poisons, and it causes us much suffering. It imprisons us in such a way that what we see in the world today, what we watch in the news, what we see at work or maybe even in our own homes. This quality, this negative quality of mind is anger and hatred. And it's a very touchy subject. And so I will be sharing with you my journey of how I've been working and uprooting my own anger. And as I do this, I really hope to also learn about your experience if we have time, so we can share with one another our journey. Anger, in an instant, can ruin many lives, as we have all seen in the past week and a half. And anger, seen through the eyes of mindfulness, can be transformative and can alter our lives and can alter the lives of those around us. And in fact, it can change the trajectory of our life when we can use mindfulness to uncover the root of our anger. We can release ourselves from the suffering and actually live more fully, live more happily. And in this past 2 years, we witness anger and hate and how it has created such division in our country. And this is not something new. It's always been there in the span of history, even before I was born, during the time of the Vietnam War. And in history, what anger does to society and nations, families and communities. When we are angry, we are delusional. Delusion is the other poison that the Buddha identified. And the third poison is greed and lust. When we are angry, we are delusional. We cannot see beyond anger. We cannot tell the difference between good or bad, right or wrong. We lose all sense of ethics, all sense of humanity. And we lose the ability to see in that moment when I'm angry and I say something, I strike back. I don't see the consequences of what's to come next. And if we did actually see, would we be motivated to do what we do? And just by a raise of hand here, how many of you here have been upset or angry about something lately? Maybe in this week? Yes, all of us. 2 hands up. And as we saw on May 25th, we face a huge loss in our country. 19 children and 2 adults were shot by an 18-year-old gunman in Texas. And since then, I have contemplated on this quality of mind. In the moment I hear about an incident like this, as we've had already many a times, it's very easy for us to desensitize ourselves to it. Here it goes again. Right? Not again and again. But in these moments, I ask myself, what would cause someone to do such a terrible thing to another human being? And what I came up with is anger. Anger is the driver. While there are times that such violent acts perplexes me. When I come to a calm meditative state, I remember that this too is part of the human condition. Anger is a seed that we all possess. And when we are angry, we are suffering. And when we suffer, we don't just suffer alone. We cause suffering to others. We pull people into our own suffering, whether knowingly or unknowingly. And as the Buddha skillfully teaches us about the Four Noble Truths, in order to understand suffering, we must look at the root of it. When we get to the root of our suffering, only then can we transform it. Only then can we uproot that which has been there, been in the dark, that which has been operating unconsciously behind this human doing and reacting. So when I think of the gunman, I think to myself, I could very well be that gunman. If I continue to water the seed of anger, I could very well be like him. When I was 9 years old, I remembered my family lived in a government housing apartment complex in Cleveland, Ohio. We were sponsored by a church to come to the US. My dad had served in the war and was in prison. And I remember sitting on the couch one afternoon, and next to the couch is a glass coffee table with a wooden frame. And my brother and sister, who are older than me, they said something, and I was very upset. I can't remember what it was, but in the moment, I remember I was very upset. And being the youngest of 6, I did not have a voice, especially Asian and female too, as you know. In our culture, we don't talk back. Being the youngest, you have to keep your mouth shut. And I was so mad, yet I didn't know how to contain my anger. So I kicked the coffee table, and the glass top fell over, and the glass shattered into a million pieces. I had a very destructive anger before I practiced mindfulness. I remember when I was 19 years old, I was dating a guy, and I had encouraged him he had dropped out of college, so I had encouraged him to go back to school, and he did. And I remember when I found out that he had withdrawn from a class, and he didn't tell me, I was very upset. I felt betrayed. How could he lie to me after all that I've done for him? Right? I threw a can of soda that was half full right at him. And I remember it hit the wall and it splashed everywhere. So when I recount my own anger, I could see that seed of anger has the potential to cause damage and harm. And it can create a lot of fear amongst others, amongst those who are around this fire, this flame of anger that is not tended. And sometimes it's hard to see the impact right away. Other times it's very dangerous, and it has the potential to destroy relationships, families, communities, in just an instant. And this is because there is no mindfulness. So when we are angry, what can we do? We go back to take care of our anger, like we do with a child. We don't get upset because the child is upset. In the moment anger arises, we tend to that inner child, that wounded child. We acknowledge it. I know you're there. I'm here. I see you. I feel you very deeply, your hurt, your pain. And we can be present as meditators to the sensations in the body in the moment that we are mindful that anger is arising. We can feel it in our chest tightening. Maybe our cheeks getting hot or warm. Maybe the belly is twisting in knots. Maybe there's a hardening, tension in the muscles. Thich Nhat Hanh gives a great example. He says, if your house is on fire, the most urgent thing to do is to go back and put out the fire. You do not run after the person you believe is the arsonist. If you run after the person you suspect who has burned your home, your house will burn down while you are chasing him or her. You must go back to put out the fire. So when you are angry, if you continue to interact with or argue with the other person, if you try to punish him or her or them, you are acting exactly like someone who runs after the arsonist while everything goes up in flame. And this is quoted from Thich Nhat Hanh's book, a national bestseller book titled Anger. So mindfulness is an effective tool we can use, and it's available to us at any given time. We can, in the moment of anger, come back to being mindful of walking, mindful of breathing, mindful of our body sitting there or standing. And we can use the method of counting. So breathing in, breathing out, 1. Breathing in, breathing out, 2. Breathing in, breathing out, 3. And the longer you stay with this, maybe after 5 breaths, full breaths, 10 full breaths, you will notice a change. You will notice impermanence taking place. Or we can also, when we breathe in, you can say in. When we breathe out, you can say out. And anything to pause the mind that's racing towards reactivity. So in a way we are disrupting that habitual pattern of anger, of reaction, of the default response. Maybe that's always there when we talk to someone we love or a coworker or a boss. And we can look deeply into the other person and see that they too are suffering. They suffer a lot, and they need our help. Like my boyfriend at that time, who hid something from me He was suffering. He was afraid, what if I knew that he failed? He was afraid of upsetting me. But I could not see that. I was more concerned about myself. Or when I broke the glass table, my mom immediately came into the living room with a dustpan, and she just quietly swept the glass and gathered all the pieces. She saw my anger, this 9-year-old, and she didn't yell at me or punish me for my anger. My mom demonstrated great compassion in her silence. And for many years, she knew that her children had carried the anger that was in my dad. So she didn't blame me. She didn't yell at me when I acted out in this way. And that is how we can be with anger, with this kind of compassion. And through our meditation practice, we learn how to be with ourselves. We have in us the seed of love, compassion, and understanding. We can be like a mother to the angry child that is within us when we're angry. What do you do when that child gets upset? You can soothe the child, the angry child. You can cradle that angry child. You don't say to the angry child, stop being angry, go away. You must tend to that child until anger dissolves on its own. And what we embrace with mindfulness, we will transform. So we have the potential to transform anger in ourselves and in the world. And we don't need to initially understand anger. We just need to be still and be silent with it. If we sit for 20 or 30 minutes, it will become clearer to us. We will start to see we were unskillful, or perhaps we had a wrong perception. It took me many years of silent meditation to uncover my own wrong perception. I grew up with a father who was abusive, and I watched him beat my mom, beat my sisters. There were times when they had to go to the hospital. And then when I reached my teen years, my early teen years, my dad began to beat me. And I became very angry. I was very angry at him for what he did to me, to my mom, to my 5 older siblings. And it wasn't until I was 23 years old when I had my first spiritual experience that I began looking deeply as to why I could not forgive my dad. I was estranged from him for 5 years. I had declared to myself that I disown you, Dad. And I thought that was me freeing myself up of my suffering. I thought by disowning him, by cutting him out of my life, that I was happier and better off for it. So when I began to look deeply at my anger, all the resentments I had towards him through all those years, I noticed that this anger I had in me was the same anger he had in him. And the anger was in him, was passed on to him by those who beat him, by those who mistreated him. My dad lost both of his parents when he was 2 years old. And he had 7 older siblings. And he talked about, at the dinner table, he would often talk about how they didn't treat him very well growing up. And he described himself as a stray dog that was left on the side of the road. He was beaten, he begged, he would go from one sibling's home to the next trying to find a place where he could belong. And then at the age of 19, he served in the Vietnam War. My dad had so much anger for the communists who destroyed the land, who killed the people he knew, who took over the country. And for the 7 years that he was in prison, how could someone who had such a tragic childhood and a young adult life not be full of anger? So my father was a victim of the transmission of anger. And I was the next victim of that transmission of anger. Anger is a cycle. It is carried on from one generation to the next. And until we sit and we look deeply and we come face to face with our anger and get to know it and understand the root of it, then we can break that cycle. So upon this recognition, I was finally able to let go of all the anger I held on to towards my dad for all those years. I forgave my dad for everything that he had done. And I was able to understand that he did the best he could. And my heart became full of love and gratitude for all that he's done for me to have the life that I have today. And by forgiving my father, I ended that cycle of anger. And if you ask me, when was the last time I was really upset? I could tell you that in that time when I was 23 and I let go of the deepest resentment I had for what had happened when I was younger, I was free. I no longer projected that anger out into the world. So we can look at where we are triggered in our daily life. And wherever those triggers are, it is just on the surface. And to really get to the root of it, we have to look very deeply and spend a lot of time seeing to the root cause. When was that seed of anger planted? Because every event after that is just the seed that was watered. And now with my practice, I carry that understanding and forgiveness when I look at people who've done grave harm and have caused such destruction with their anger. When I hear the news about the young man or many other men who have pulled the trigger, I recognize that seed of anger that is in him is also in me. So inside of us, we have many seeds. The seed of loving kindness, the seed of generosity, the seed of depression, the seed of anger. Through the course of our life, these seeds have been watered, and some seeds grow bigger and others stay small. And if a person does not practice mindfulness, the seed of anger can be watered many times unknowingly. And anger is suffering. It may occur like there is something outside of us that makes us angry, but the seed of anger is in us. No one can make us upset. What we feel inside, we must be responsible for. And when we get upset, we are suffering not because of another person doing something to us. It is because the seed of anger in us has not been uprooted. It's like we can pull the weeds in our garden, and maybe we just cut it at the top where the soil is, at the level of the soil. But to really take the time to dig it up, get down to the roots, and go as far down as we can to pull every single root that is there from that weed. And anger is rooted in hurt. It may be hard to see that when someone's angry that they're hurt, but the person is hurting and they're suffering. And when we remember that a person is hurting and we see them hurting, we are not upset at them. It's like if we see a child hurting, we are not upset at the child. We want to love the child and bring the child close to us and take care of that child and wherever they're hurting and tend to their wound. And so we can take this approach when we see someone who's angry. We remember that they're hurting. How can I help reduce your hurt? I know you're suffering. And there are times when we suffer and we make others suffer too. And so, in the same way, when a person is angry within themselves, they cause suffering, lots of suffering. And this is what happens with what we are seeing in our world today. And each of us, as individuals, we are responsible to take care of our anger. And when we can transform our anger, we then have the capacity to help others to transform theirs. When we understand the suffering of the other person, we are able to transform our desire to punish them. And instead of wanting to punish them or retaliate or to win or dominate, what arises instead is compassion. All we want to do is to help. And in this moment of mindfulness, you have succeeded. Each of us has the capacity to be this gardener, this great gardener. We can take the time and the energy of mindfulness to tend to our garden. So when we leave it untended, it collects garbage and the weeds grow out. I was just thinking about our garden at home. Finally, after some time, I took the time to pull the weeds out from our garden. And how refreshing that is to be able to look at the garden and see the work that we put in, the time and effort to make our garden beautiful again. And this is a ongoing effort. There is maintenance. We must continue to take care of our garden if we want it to maintain organized and orderly. And if we want flowers to bloom from our garden, and we want to harvest wonderful herbs and vegetables and fruits, we must water it daily. Then we can share the fruit of our garden with others, the flowers of our gardens with others to enjoy. So our capacity to love others and care for others depends on our capacity to love and care for ourselves and to take care of those negative mental states like anger, delusion, and greed. So when anger arises, we can first recognize, I see you are here. And then we can allow it to be there. Don't push it away. Don't resist. Don't ignore. Don't avoid it. We embrace it like we do with a child. I'm going to be with you. I'm going to take good care of you. And we maintain a relaxed, alert, and a wakeful state of mind. And we look deeply to see, after some time, we look deeply to see the true nature of it, to find the origin of our anger. It may take minutes or hours or days, months, sometimes years. Whatever time we have, we must do it with urgency to take care of it. Because if we don't, we continue to expose others to our anger. And we may, knowingly or unknowingly, cause anger and harm in the world with our speech, with our actions. And anger is a form of energy. We can use the energy of mindfulness to notice and to take care of the energy of anger. So we are normally conditioned to get rid of what is ugly or unpleasant. Like it's easier to notice a beautiful flower and to have positive feelings about it. Yet when we have flowers that are wilting, we are very quick to want to throw it away or dump it in the trash or the compost bin. So I encourage you to practice observing the flower long after the beauty has faded. Watch the flower decay. Like when we go to the forest for a walk, we can notice not just the new growth, not just the greenery, but also what is dying. We can notice the broken branches. We can feel the pain and the sadness of that. And we can train our eyes to also see when the leaves are wilting and shriveled up. We can notice it in the same way with a kind of awe and curiosity that we take to seeing beauty and pleasantness. And this is a way to practice insight of non-duality. We remember that there is nothing bad or wrong with our anger. We are not to shame ourselves or to be upset for being upset. But with loving kindness and non-discrimination, we practice being with our anger. And when we observe it long enough, we can transform this energy of anger into a kind of motivation that could potentially transform our communities and our families and our relationships. And we could bring about positive changes with this energy that was stemmed from anger. Maybe this could be to work hard and to dedicate ourselves to improving gun laws. Maybe this could be to make our schools safer. Maybe this could be to practice diligently to become a more skillful person in society, in our families, in the roles that we play at home and at work and in our circles. Or maybe it's simply to make mindfulness more accessible. I've known in the past when I've heard of a shooting in Chicago when I lived there for 12 years, I was deeply affected. There was a young man named Laquan McDonald in 2014 who had died by the hands of a policeman, and I cried. Again, how could a human take the life of another human being? And that thought motivated me into teaching mindfulness in the prison in Chicago. And so we can't take that which causes despair and resignation and upset about what's going on in the world, about the anger that we see, and use that energy to propel us into making the world a more peaceful place, a more loving place. And what can we do as individuals and as a spiritual community? We can come together and form allies in taking care of our sorrow, our anger, our pain, our sadness, and our frustration. And we can create a safe space for one another to reflect on our sadness and on our worries. If we listen to the news and it feels anger in us, fear or resignation, we must think, what seed are we watering within ourselves? We must stop consuming the things that poison us and intoxicate us. And we must take heed in what we consume and allow into our 6 sense doors: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. And how can we still be in touch with the suffering that occurs out there and not let it knock us off our center? We can use this as a motivation to practice with urgency to reach the attainment of wisdom, so that we can take skillful next steps to help others, to free ourselves, and along the way, free others. We have the potential to make a difference, and where we begin is with ourselves. When there is peace in ourselves, peace is now possible in the world. And we come back to our home base. Collective change begins on the level of individuals. We practice meditation and mindfulness to cultivate this peace. And when you practice, just remember you are contributing to world peace. And if we can get every human being to practice mindfulness, our world would be free of anger, delusion, and greed. And this place on earth could be a nirvana, could be a place where we experience full liberation, not in another life, not in another time, not in another place far, far from here, but right here and right now, simply by taking care of our mental states. So we have just about 8 minutes here, and I'd just love to give you an opportunity to share what's on your mind, what's in your heart. And for those on Zoom, Jamie, are we able to hear them as well? Oh, okay, Jamie will be able to repeat your questions for those on Zoom, and she will repeat it to the audience and myself here. Oh, that was heavy for a Sunday morning, huh? Yes.
Check, test. Are we able to hear?
Yep.
Okay, so if someone can just,
Okay. Oh, perfect. Okay, great. Yes. Zoomers, when you are ready to share, you can unmute yourself and I will be able to hear you. Thank you. See, Brittany has a question. Brittany says, one question that often comes to mind is, how do we hold compassion and loving kindness for others while also having boundaries for ourselves? This is can you hear me? Louder? Okay. So why do we, I'll repeat the question again. How do we hold compassion and loving kindness for others while also having boundaries for ourselves? I know that. What was that?
Idiot compassion.
I'm not sure what idiot compassion is, but I'm going to answer this question first, okay? And I will take your question after. I often think of boundaries as a wall that we put up. I know that in a lot of books from therapists and different places, there's a lot of really wonderful ways in which we can learn to set boundaries. But for myself personally, boundaries to me is like setting up a wall. Here's my wall. Don't cross it. Don't step over it. Don't come to the other side. It almost, in a sense, creates a division or an inability for us to experience vulnerability with ourselves and with the other person. When we hold compassion and loving kindness for others, we must balance it with wisdom. We must know when our scale is tipped too heavy to one side, and now we must come back to take care of ourselves. And we all have a limitation, as we are not the Buddha. We all have limitations in our ability to be with, challenging people or experiences or people who are difficult. but we can notice when there's a tipping point that happens, to step back, to withdraw, to come back to home base, and to take care of our inner child. Because if we, quote unquote, if the other person crosses our boundary, and I still have a resistance to using that word, but if the other person crosses our boundary, we might do something unskillful or harmful. We might say something that we regret later. And so, as part of our practice, we are also cultivating the ability to discern. Do I have the capacity to take on more? Or must I go back to my island? Thank you, Brittany. I hope that helps. Thanks for your question.
I've got a question about delusion and how it relates to anger, about especially like self-grasping ignorance and like narcissistic attachment, and how like self-cherishing affects or causes the rising of anger.
How self-cherishing and delusion affects anger.
Or gives rise to anger.
Give rise to anger. Well, I would say that these qualities of self-cherishing and delusion are, it's not that one happens first and then the other happens, but they can happen simultaneously and at different times. So we can oscillate from one mind state to the next. So when the Buddha identified this list of the 3 poisons, he doesn't put it in any particular order. It's just to notice, usually when there is self-cherishing, there could be a note of greed in there. And at times when there's greed, let's say, this is mine, and then Danny tries to take this, then anger arises. No. This is mine. And then Danny comes over here and tried to take this from me, and I said, no, it's mine. You know, there's grasping, there's greed, I have to have more of this. And Danny tried to take this, then now I'm upset. Then there's anger. So sometimes one can give rise to the other, and other times not. But sometimes there is a subtle hint of the other poison that could be present. And when we are mindful and when we slow down, we can notice the onset of anger, the onset of greed. You know, I notice, like yesterday, I cut up a durian, and Joshua and I had it for the first time, and I love durian. I don't know if you know what this fruit is, but some people consider it stinky, and I think it's the most fragrant thing ever. A yummy delicacy. And so I noticed myself looking for the bigger durian piece. I was like, oh, that's mine. This is my plate. So just noticing the onset of greed, and when that's present, interesting. That's still present. The seed of greed is still there. So we can intellectualize this, but I highly recommend that for you. I didn't catch your name. What is your name? Sean. So Sean, notice it when it arises within you, right? What gives rise to your anger? Or what gives rise to your delusion? What is there before? And what is there after?
Mark Epstein's work, Positive Thinker, and he talks about injured innocence, and he talks about how when we get our feelings hurt, we think to ourselves, well, how could she say that to me? And then at that moment, we can redirect our aggression and attention to the self at those times.
Yes, that's wonderful. That's it. That's a really wonderful practice. like to direct that back to ourselves, because there's always a I that is, there's a referencing there that causes these three poisons to exist. If there is no me, my, I, the three poisons cease to exist. What is it? Oh, oh God, okay. Okay, the Dana wall. Okay, one moment. We have your boundaries are also the other person from harming themselves, like a railing around a high place. Okay, thank you, Jonas. And it's time for us to close. And we have two more things, but it will be within 6 minutes if you don't mind staying for a little bit. I'd like to share a lullaby on anger. So this is something we can do to comfort ourselves or the others, another person in the moment of anger. And before we'll close with a song. My dear partner Joshua will be playing it on the guitar. He just practiced it last night. And so we're doing this as not a performance, but as a contribution, a sharing of the Dharma. And one of the ways in which we also, I mentioned, practice reducing our three poison is to water the seed of compassion, water the seed of wisdom, and water the seed of dana, generosity. And I'm segueing into this right here. And one of the ways in which we can do that is to give, to share what it is that we have that is ours. And to remember that this community is made up of all of you, all of us here. That I wouldn't be here if you are not here. And we need one another. We need each other to awaken. And so, please, with the generosity of your heart, please make a donation that you feel called to. As Robert says, give until your heart feels full. As I know, Portland Insight Meditation Center is going through some financial struggles on a monthly. And so you can make a one-time donation or a monthly donation as a token of your support for our spiritual community and for your own spiritual growth and for the collective. So let us close with this song. And on that handout you all received is the song. Jamie, any way you can share it with the people on Zoom? Oh, I didn't email it to you, did I? Let me see. I did not. Let me forward it to you. My dear, is there anything you would like to say with everyone before we sing? Okay. Jamie, can you put your email in? And then I'll send to you. I realize how different it is that I can't toggle through the screens well. Yeah. Thank you. That's it. And okay. All right. Sending it to you. And for those of you on Zoom, Jamie will share in a moment this song. And this song, the lyrics is from Plum Village, and it's called Come and Sit. And actually, the melody is from Red River Valley, so you will recognize this for those of you who know Red River Valley. It's in there, I believe. Oh, let me see. Oh. Okay. Sorry.
Just pick harmoniously for a while.
Files. Dharma. Songs. Dharma songs. There we go. Send a copy to Jamie. What is it? That which has gone. Okay. There we go. And I guess we'll just go right in. Yeah. Okay. Great. Can the people on Zoom hear?
If you just stay close to him, then yes.
Okay. Maybe we need a mic. Yeah. Paul, can you grab that mic over there? Okay. Thank you.
They can hear it.
They can hear it? Okay. I'll just take that just in case. Thank you. All right. Okay. Can you cue us in? Come and sit if you're lonely. Close your eyes, drink some tea together. Breathing in, breathing out, smile and calm. You will feel that our life is so true. Come and sit by my side when you're tired. Close your eyes, put your hands on your heart. Breathing in, breathing out, smiling and calm. You will feel that our life is so true. Come and sit by my side if you're crying. Close your eyes, put your hands on the earth. Breathing in, breathing out, smiling and calm. You will feel that our life is happy. One more time. Come and sit by my side if you're lonely. Close your eyes, drink some tea together. Breathing in, breathing out, smiling and calm. You will feel that our life is so true. Come and sit by my side when you're tired. Close your eyes, put your hands on your heart. Breathing in, breathing out, smiling and calm. You will feel that our life is so true. Come and sit by my side if you're crying. Close your eyes, put your hands on the earth. Breathing in, breathing out, smile and calm. You will feel that our life is happy. You will feel that our life is happy. Thank you, my dear friends. Thank you for showing up on this day and for being in community. This is the most precious gift we have, is each other. So thank you. Thank you, honey. Thanks, Jamie.
Recording stopped.